Well, thank you so much, Keith. We love the Thursday edition of The Next Right Thing. Why, Adam? Because you know what I'm going to say. It's how I start The Next Right Thing every single Thursday, and that is with a reminder of picking up your rosaries and praying the luminous mysteries, the mysteries of light. Oh, and please thank John Paul II for giving us these beautiful mysteries that we can meditate on about the ministry work of Jesus and his mother. How wonderful is that? So, Adam, we're preparing this week, the entire week actually, to get ready for the big Father's Day, right? Where we celebrate, we all go out to dinner and celebrate our dads. And if our dads have already left to meet the Lord, we think about our dads, maybe go to the cemetery or something of that nature. Remember the great dad stories that we have. Well, you and I decided that it would be wonderful if we had a guest for this segment of The Next Right Thing. And we thought it would be great, right, to bring on David Magallanez. And he is the Guadalupe Radio Network business manager and sports guy that we hear on Morning Joy. And so what do you say, Adam? We asked David some questions on the tips and the tools for fathers and grandfathers.
Oh, that sounds perfect. Welcome, David. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for this opportunity, and what a great time right now that we'll be celebrating Father's Day here in the next couple of days, and I'm excited. I'm a father of 4 girls, and so I'm excited for that.
Wait a minute. A father of 4 girls? You're going to be broke if they all get married in the same couple years. Are they married, David?
No, not yet. And so, some have just got out of school and they're working on their careers, and I still have 2 in high school. So
wow.
I'm already broke, Debbie. I'm already broke. What are you talking about?
So, well, because I understand weddings these days, Adam, cost like a lot of money, like $50,000 and $75,000. So good luck, David, with that.
Wow.
Thank you. Please pray for me. Yes.
Yes, but that's beautiful to have girls. So you're the father of 4 girls, and we understand today you would really like to impart to all of the dads and granddads out there that kind of the tips and the tools of really how to navigate parenthood. What do you say about all this, David?
Yes, it's a great opportunity because I think for myself, I'm just kind of speaking from my experiences that when I was a young dad, I didn't, really take advantage and use that opportunity to really bond with my girls. It seemed like we were always busy or we just kind of downplayed that event. And what I have some tips. So we'll start with new fathers. We're going to start with new fathers with the little ones. And just, a few things to keep in mind is that really, if you got your little ones, keep it simple. Debbie and Adam, it's a really important day for the dads, but for the young ones, you're showing them, you're telling them about Father's Day, and this is where you kind of start planning some of those events for that day.
Mm-hmm. So when you say keep it simple, I know Adam may have a question as well. I mean, so would you say, David, that just less is more, meaning like if you had just really coming from the heart and just really spending that beautiful time together, that means a lot. You don't have to go overboard and spend boatloads of money. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm trying to say that, yes, where, it depends on how big you want to make it or how small, but the important thing is to get started. And it doesn't have to be very expensive. You could start out with just a simple lunch, simple dinner. You could just do ice cream with the kids. And then also make it a day of games with your kids, because I think to really bond with your kids, playing that special game with your boys and girls, with your kids, it's really important because I've been doing that for a little while, and now we get a chance to play as my girls are older. They kind of remember like, wow, Dad's good in Chinese checkers and Mom is good in Clue and all that stuff. And so they remember that. They remember those things. And then and to kind of finish off for the day, just maybe go to the park, and go play some outdoor games. Go, do a little hiking and walking, cooking with your kids as well. And then also playing an instrument. So basically, I think what I'm trying to say is that, if you want your kids to be a part of your world, then you need to invite them to your world. And so if that involves, like you like to go hiking and camping, all right, show them the very basics of that. Go to the park to start off small. If you like to play instruments, leave your instruments out there. Let them pick it up and see which one they like, and then you go from there. So those are kind of my, easy little tips for my new fathers.
So, David, I don't have children myself. I've never felt called to it. I think I'm called to the single life. However, I do remember my father, and he passed away about 10 years ago now. And I'll tell you what, some of the really neat things that I remember from my childhood are times where I saw something he really loved or was interested in. There was a few things he really liked to do. He really liked to collect antique glass and knew a lot about it. He liked old folk instruments. He didn't play a lot, but he really loved them, and I knew he actually could play them. And it's like when you get to know your father and what he loves, there's something special about that. I think we're kind of like built to look at what our fathers do, especially men. I don't know how much that's true for women, but we kind of look to them for guidance, like what's interesting in the world and what does dad like. And so I'm basically saying, like, I think that's really interesting advice and good advice. And, particularly what we leave behind as kids grow up and as fathers pass on, I think those are some of the most, cherished memories. It's not so much that, we went to this big concert or, we saw this together. But this is what Dad loved, and maybe he taught me something about it.
Yep.
I agree with what you just said, and it's an invitation to this is what I love to do, and I always tell my girls, hey, it's in your blood, it's in your DNA. So these things that I like to do, it's in your blood. So let's see how much you can do that, how much you want to do that, and I'll help nurture that. I'll help grow that if you want to grow that. But it's a great insight to who your dad really is.
So, David, you'll get a kick out of this. My dad went home to meet the Lord in 2010. My dad had 4 girls,
Wow.
like you, yes,
Wow.
and 2 boys, right? So 6 kids. And I was the youngest. And my dad was an avid golfer. He loved everything about golf. And so I was the youngest, and I took up golf at an early age. And I have these precious memories. I so agree with Adam. I have these precious memories of my dad, and they're so unique, so different from my brothers and sisters. They have very different memories of my dad on the golf course. I have these amazing memories of my dad on the golf course. And I got to see him at his best, at his worst, and everywhere in between on the golf course. Because, it brings out, as you know, being the sports guy, David, it brings out every emotion, right?
You're right.
But you are so spot on. And I think so many times when kids don't take that time to learn about what their dad likes and what their dad is good at and what their dad can do, and then their dad dies, right? Their dad goes home to meet the Lord, and they're like, oh, I didn't know my dad could do that. I wish he had spent time telling me how he learned that instrument or played that sport. So I think you're so spot on, David. But keep going, because I know you got to get to granddads too.
Yeah, so now let's start with fathers with older dads like myself. So, this is kind of where now you're starting to set the traditions, right? And so the younger ones have grown up. They're in the middle school, high school time frame, and so now they kind of know, okay, now this is kind of being a big deal. So, at that time, you can have breakfast together, and I love cooking breakfast. I love cooking breakfast for my family, so we share the food, the food that I like, right? So I'm going to cook my food, so we're going to eat all that together, and then maybe later in the day, share a nice meal. At one of your favorite restaurants. One of the traditions that we've started is that I'll pick 3 of my favorite restaurants. So either on my birthday or Father's Day, I'll pick 3, and then I'll let the girls decide which one to go to. So, it's got to be my top 3, right? So, these are the 3 that I want to enjoy today with you. I'll let you pick the one out of the 3. And then after that, again, it's part of inviting your kids to your world. So now they're a little bit older, right? So, hey, let's go play some golf. Let's go to a baseball game. Let's go to a game and hang out together for a few hours and watch the game and eat all the concession food stand food and get sick at the end of the day and all that good stuff. Play a game together, maybe. You know what? Maybe. Right. Go outside and shoot some baskets, play some games like that. And then also maybe, buy a ticket for a future event, like a concert that you, for a group that you like or a play that you like, surprise them with, hey, this is coming in about 3 months. I got tickets for all the family. We're going to go that day. So I think that's, you're kind of now setting the traditions and setting the expectations like, hey, this is turning into a big event for fathers and myself. We're going to do something together.
Yeah, I love that. What do you say, Adam? We only got about 20 seconds, so we'll send it back to Keith, and we'll have more with David when we come back for the final segment. But do you want to maybe start
on the other side, David, can we talk about, again, if I could share just super briefly, the few really deep conversations I had with my dad in my life that were like really sincere, really vulnerable, open conversations, both that he was sharing and I was sharing, they end up being things that they kind of stay there in your mind forever. And I would wonder if we could add to this list, maybe you don't do that on that day because it's maybe a one-on-one thing, as opposed to a family group thing. But I think that's something to consider because that's a real gift you can give your kids. I think, on Father's Day, like we're talking about, activities, what we love, sharing a little bit. But I just, again, thinking back on my life, I had a few really deep conversations with my dad sprinkled throughout my life. And those ended up being real treasures. And my dad died fairly suddenly. There was no warning. There was no illness leading up to it. It was just bam, and then within like 7 days, he was gone. And luckily, I was able to be there with him. If we hadn't had those conversations, it would have been too late to try to do it then. It wasn't the right time. And the ones that we did have, I can still picture them. So I'm just wondering, David, what your thoughts are about those moments.
That's a great point. You're right. Father's Day is just that one special day with your family, with your kids. There's 364 other days that you can share these type of memories. And I remember I visit my dad, and anytime we get a chance to talk about his past, his history, I get fascinated with hearing his stories about how he loved working on cars. And he and his friends, they didn't have TVs back then. And so their TV was working on a car. And, they would buy these old cars. That's all they could afford. But as a group of friends, they all pitched in to help to get that car running. And that's what they would do on Saturday night, is go cruising in their small town. And so those kind of stories kind of opened up for me that how my dad was really great on cars, and he had a lot of friends, and it plays out like that today. Even when I was growing up, and now he still likes to tinker with cars. I know that he has a lot of friends, and so those are kind of a couple of memories that kind of stick with me as well. And so that's a great point of just sharing some of those things from your college days, from your friends, from your parents. I think that's a great idea, Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I think we're all getting moved with emotion at this segment because we're all thinking about our dads and how precious they are. And that's what God wants us to do. So I'm really loving this, the next right thing, David. I'm so glad that you were able to join us. So I know you want to continue in the last few minutes we have of more tips, especially for grandfathers.
Yes. One thing about grandfathers, right, is so we had a men's conference here in the Houston area a couple of years ago, and one of the feedback points was, hey, you need to give us some pointers and stuff about grandfathers. So now grandfathers are on my head now. And so now I've got some ideas for grandfathers. So again, eat together as a family. So when they come to visit you or stuff like that, make it a big deal that, hey, we're going to gather together as a family. We're going to eat together. And sometimes, it's okay. Like if it's a big gathering of people coming in, order some food and just bring it to the house and, enjoy the time together at your house eating food together. I think a really important thing is that most grandfathers now have these smartphones, right? And so they can take pictures all the time. Take advantage of taking a bunch of pictures with your kids and grandkids. The reason I say that is because you're capturing that moment. You're having fun. You're laughing and making all these faces with them and enjoying the time. And then, at the end of the day, they're going to go back to their house. Well, you have those photos on your smartphone, and you can always look back at those and just kind of remember those days and kind of remember and think, okay, next time we're going to do this and this. I'm going to take some more pictures of that. And the other thing, a couple of more things that I do want to mention is that as a grandfather, so you have some time, and I think it would be really important if you could write letters to your grandkids. Bring back the art of writing a letter to your kids and grandkids, and that's a time that you can really sit down, take your time, and speak from the heart, and just put that on paper. And and that's something that if I got a letter from my dad like that, I would keep it, or something in a card or something. I keep all the cards. I keep all of those cards. I keep them, and I think that would be really cool for a grandchild or even your kid, even an adult kid, to receive something in the mail, and it would have the stamp. It'd have your name. Wow, this is from my dad. He wrote me a letter from my granddad. And so I think we need to bring that back. What do you think, Debbie and Adam?
Well, David, if I could share again just briefly, my grandmother did something, pretty special for me along those lines. When I was maybe 10 or 11, I remember spending time with her a number of weekends where her and my grandfather lived. And we would just talk about life and things that she had figured out or come to understand in her life. And she had, lived a pretty interesting life. And I think she knew that, like, I was still relatively a kid, and maybe I wouldn't get it all. But also, I guess she was inspired after a few of these conversations. I didn't know she did this. She sat down and wrote out, basically, here's all the things I figured out about life. And like on a couple sheets of paper, very direct and simple and straightforward things. I still have that paper in my box of papers right nearby me. I don't look at it all the time, and it's faded now, but it's still readable. And again, that's a treasure for me. It's so neat to tap into many decades of experience and somebody else's perspective on life. So I would just, reinforce what you're saying there, David, is, writing is wonderful. And if you could share your wisdom before you head home and you're out of here, maybe it'll be great now. It'll almost certainly be great later when people have the maturity to process it all, see it in different ways over the years. But yeah, so I'm just echoing David. My grandmother did that for me, and here we are, like 40 years later, and it's still one of my treasures.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, David, we want to give you the final minute. I know it's not a lot of time, but you've given us such helpful tips and tools on how to really celebrate dads, and we appreciate that. And so, David, I think your girls are very lucky they have you as their dad. So why don't you take the final minute?
Yeah, it's, so I'm a work in progress. And when I first started and was a new dad and didn't know everything about how to do this, right? And so I've been kind of learning and keeping notes. And I have two older daughters and then my two younger daughters in high school. So I kind of had a chance to kind of like regroup and kind of redo this and do this with my younger girls. And so, take these opportunities to, be involved in their life, be a coach, invite them to your world, and then they'll pick it up. They'll pick it up, and they want to be a part of your world. And sometimes you don't think that, right? You don't think about all that kind of stuff. But believe me, they want to be a part of your world. And the other thing too is they want to know everything about your history. So granddads, if you have something in your history that, this is where we came from, this is how we got our name, and this and that, please share that with your kids and your grandkids. I think that's another treasure. Like Adam is saying, these treasures are so precious.
Amen to that. David Magallanez, you are amazing. Thank you so much for all you do for us as the business manager of Guadalupe Radio Network. We'll catch you next time when you're going to do a sports segment on Morning Joy. And happy early Father's Day, sir. And thank you for joining us. Okay, we're done. We're going to send it back to Keith for the rest of Morning Joy.